Algebra 1 Factorising. So in our previous video we looked at 4 different types of factorising, where we were looking at the highest common factor, grouping, difference of 2 squares and sum difference of 2 cubes. So this video is going to focus on the 5th type of factorising, which is where we're going to factorise quadratics. So for factorising our quadratics, if we think about any quadratic, it's normally some number times x squared, some number times x plus a constant. So in general, we write a quadratic as ax squared plus bx plus c. So to factorise our quadratics, I'm going to use what's known as the guide number method. And this is my preferred method. It might be slightly longer than the scissors method or any other method your teacher has taught you, but you can't really go wrong with this guide number method. So we're going to start by looking at the coefficient of x, so that's a, and we look at the constant, which is c, and we're going to take that number a and we're going to multiply it by c. The number that we get, we then look for the factors that are going to multiply to give us a times c and add to give us the number in front of x. In other words, add to give us b. Once we do that, we're then going to rewrite that middle term bx in terms of the 2 factors. We will then have 4 terms, and we're going to group the first 2 and group the second 2 terms, and we're going to take out the highest common factor. Once we've taken out the highest common factor, what's inside the brackets should be the same. If they're not, check your signs. And then we take out that highest common factor again, and we will now be fully factorised. So let's look at 2 examples. So the first one we have here is x squared plus 9x plus 14. The number in front of x squared is 1, so 1 times 14 is just simply 14. And I look at the factors of 14 that are going to add to give me 9. So my factors of 14 are 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. Now 1 and 14 aren't clearly going to add to give me 9, so of course I'm circling the ones that do, which is 2 and 7. So that means I'm going to take that 9x and I'm going to write it in terms of these 2 factors, 2 and 7. It doesn't matter which one I put in first, the 2 or the 7, but I have to make sure that they add to give me 9x. So therefore that means I'm going to have to write it as 2x plus 7x and then plus 14. I'm now going to group the first 2, group the second 2. I'm going to take out my highest common factor. So the highest common factor between x squared and 2x is x, which leaves me then with x plus 2 inside the brackets. The highest common factor between 7x and 14 is 7, which leaves me with x plus 2 inside the brackets. So these 2 brackets always have to be the same so that they can be taken out as the highest common factor. If I take out x plus 2 as being common, well, that leaves me with x in the first term and 7 in the second term. So I can see I now have 2 factors, and any quadratic will always have 2 factors. So a quadratic will always have 2 factors because the highest power of x is 2. A cubic, therefore, would have 3 factors. So if we look at one more example, if I have 12x squared minus 11x minus 5, then we take the 12 and we multiply it by minus 5, which gives me minus 60. And we look at all the factors of minus 60 that could potentially add to give me minus 11. So I could, of course, have 2 and 30, I could have 6, and I could have 10, and I could have 5, and I could have 12, and of course I could have 4, and I could have 15, and I could have 3, and I could have 20. Now, we don't have to write out these all the time. This is just for the purpose of an example. A lot of the times we can see straight off, I know what 2 numbers are going to multiply to give me minus 60 and add to give me minus 11. So we have to be careful here because it has to be minus 60. So if the 2 numbers are multiplying to give me minus 60, that means that one of the factors has to be negative. And then if I'm looking at which 2 are going to add to give me the minus 11, well, the bigger number is going to have to be negative in order to get a minus 11. So I can see by looking through all of my factors that the 2 that are going to combine to give me 11 have to be 4 and 15. And of course, the bigger number has to be minus. So that's going to be minus 15 and plus 4. Again, it doesn't matter which order I put these two factors back in. So I'm going to do minus 15x plus 4x minus 5. And I can group the first two, group the second two, and take out the highest common factor. So the highest common factor between 12x and minus 15x is going to be 3x, which leaves me then with 4x minus 5. And if I look at 4x minus 5, I might not see there's anything common, but of course 1, we have to remember, is always common to everything. So by taking out 1 as being common, that leaves me with 4x minus 5. And again, my two brackets are the same, so that is my highest common factor. And by taking out 4x minus 5, well, now that leaves me with 3x plus 1. So again, I have two factors that if I was to check and I multiplied it back out, I would get 12x squared minus 11x minus 5. So again, same factorising sheet as the previous video, and we're going to look at question 36, 37, 39, 40, 42, 44 and 50.